Hello, today we are going to learn how to add decimals. On the left, assuming that a flat is one whole, I have 5 longs and 6 cubes. My decimal is 0.56 or 56 hundredths. On the right, I have 2 tenths or 0.2. Which would be the correct way to add these decimals? The one on the left or the one on the right? If you said the one on the right, you're correct. It's important to line up the decimals when you add decimals or subtract decimals because that keeps the place value. If I look at the top, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tenths and 6 hundredths. On the left-hand side, I would no longer have kept my place value if I did not line up the decimals. So, when you're adding and subtracting decimals, you have to always line up the decimals. Here, I have 3 and 13 hundredths and 2 and 57 hundredths. In order to add them, we have to line up the decimals. I lined up the decimals using my grid. 3 and 13 hundredths is close to 3, and 2 and 57 hundredths is close to 3. So my answer should be around 6. Let's add. Notice how I'm bringing down the decimal point. My answer is 5 and 70 hundredths, which is close to my estimate. This problem is a little trickier. Notice how 2 and 63 hundredths has 3 digits in its number, and 3 and 5 tenths only has 2. When I'm adding my numbers, I want to make sure that I'm keeping my decimal point in line. So I'll write 2 and 63 hundredths like this, 3 and 5 tenths lining up the decimal point. I'm going to add an imaginary 0 because 3 and 50 hundredths is the same as 3 and 5 tenths. I can then do my normal addition using the standard algorithm, and then I'm going to check my answer as well with my estimate to check that 3 plus 4 is 7, and that's close to my answer. One final problem. 17 I can keep as 17, and for my estimate, 5 and 1 tenths I'll leave as 5. 17 plus 5 is 22. My answer must be close to about 22. But notice, 17 doesn't have a decimal point. All numbers have an imaginary decimal point to the right of the ones place. So when I'm writing 17, I'll put that decimal there to remind myself that 5 and 1 tenth needs to be lined up like this. I'll put a 0 as a placeholder and then do my addition. I got an answer of 22 and 1 tenth, which is close to my estimate. So remember, when you're adding and subtracting decimals, it's important to add an imaginary decimal point if needed and to line up your decimals.